Governor DeSantis takes aim at the newest boogeyman, drag queens. With Pride season underway, Governor Ron DeSantis and his band of bureaucrats cast a long, dark shadow over the festivities. Their stated goal? Protecting children from drag queens. In this week's SFGN online and on stands now, I look at how South Florida prides are reacting to threats from the governor to ban drag queens and people in gender non-conforming outfits. Tampa Pride is cutting the governor off at the pass by making all areas where liquor is served 18 and over. Threatening to revoke current or refuse future liquor licenses is a key point of leverage the state uses against LGBTQ+ businesses. They've also launched several investigations into South Florida venues where children have been in the presence of drag queens. Palm Beach Pride, which is the same weekend of Tampa Pride at the end of March, doesn't get a liquor license, so they have an advantage. Compass produces the event, and Executive Director Julie Seaver was disgusted but not surprised to hear about the hardball tactics. Their parade marches through Lake Worth Beach and empties out into Bryant Park. There will be drag queens in the parade and hosting on the main stage. She told me, quote, "Youth and allies must be at Pride. Drag queens must be at Pride," end quote. And summed up the urgency of the situation, saying, quote, "My job is to keep kids and adults alive," end quote. Wilton Manors has more time to see how events unfold. Last month, city commissioners approved the permit for the annual Stonewall Pride Parade and Street Festival on June 17th, and they did so without any restrictions, though they did briefly mention they want to avoid a confrontation with Republicans in Tallahassee. Last night, I asked Mayor Scott Newton if the city would consider modifying the permit if pressured by the state. He was definitive in his answer, saying, quote, "Everyone's welcome to come to our Stonewall. That's what it's all about, being open and free. That's their right to come to the event. It's a public event. I can't stop someone from coming. Why would I say they couldn't or pull a permit from it? No, I wouldn't," end quote. We will continue to follow developments and attacks on the LGBTQ+ community, and you can read more of my story in this week's SFGN online now.
And on stands tomorrow.
What she said.
What she said.
You know, this is a story that's been coming for a while, and I've been keeping in touch with Julie up in Palm Beach, obviously the people in Wilton Manors and Miami Beach Pride. They're still trying to kind of figure out how they're going to make sure they don't draw unwanted attention. But I also talked with some people after some LGBTQ+ politicians after this last weekend's conference in Orlando, and they basically said, we are going to hold hands with our drag queens. We are going to march hand in hand and you DeSantis.
Did you see that video that's going around social media with Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani, and Rudy Giuliani is dressed in drag?
No.
God, he would make an ugly
seen
woman.
that?
No.
Oh my God, it's all over social media.
Okay, so your point, Peter? You're just going to tell us about a video?
That he dressed up in drag and they were doing this big bit together between the two of them. I think it was in the early 2000s.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hypocrisy is a hallmark of the modern Republican Party.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
No
wait,
way.
let me write that down.
Write that down before you forget.
He outgrew that outfit. I think that's what ultimately happened.
And did you see his makeup dripping in that one photo a year? Oh my God, I live for that moment.
Listen, Palm Beach Pride is an incredible pride, and it's going to go off seamless, okay? If anybody can pull it off, it's Julia Seaver and all the people over at Compass. Those people are badasses, and they know what they're doing. And they are. Velva Lenore is going to be emceeing in the main stage. They're going to have a bunch of drag queens there. The Synergy Twins are also going to be there performing. You know, it's going to go off, and it's going to go off awesomely. Yeah. Okay, they're not going to be able to stop that weekend from happening there at Palm Beach. No way.
Let me be devil's advocate in terms of what we are watching. What is your reaction in terms of where all of this is going? What if we just simply say, like Tampa Pride moving all of their liquor events, and it's interesting, both of these prides are on the exact same weekend. Tampa's approach is to say, we're going to move alcohol during the day and alcohol at night to the Cuban Club and make it an 18+ event. And so therefore, all of the alcohol is only for adults, 18+. Palm Beach is saying we have no alcohol at all. Both accomplish the exact same thing, which is allows the issue of drag queens. What do you think about the idea that we just take this entire issue off of the table? that if you are a bar or a restaurant or you're an event, you take alcohol completely out of the picture, and then you say, okay, we surrender that point. Alcohol will not be present with drag queens
Continue with the
unless it's 18 or over. And now Ron DeSantis, shut the hell up. What do y'all think about that? Well,
I think it's a stopgap measure, because Tennessee is already showing us they're just going to ban drag queens in the state. If you're in a gender non-conforming outfit, it's a misdemeanor the first time, felony the second time. I think it'll probably get us through this year. Although Pride's, this will all be at the culmination of session up in the legislature. So what could happen? They could change laws. They could go the extreme route of Tennessee. This might get us through this year, but there's a bigger confrontation coming.
The question, and due respect, that it takes off the track of the point that I was making, because alcohol is the only wedge that they have. If the state goes, drag is illegal, if they tried the path of Tennessee, the federal challenge in the courts, even the Supreme Court, it is unimaginable that the Supreme Court, even in the 6-3 supermajority that they have, is going to sustain Tennessee. If the governor signs that bill and the legal challenge goes through the federal courts, even to the Supreme Court, it is unimaginable that the Supreme Court would allow a separate but equal standard of you dressing in definition of a man dressing in clothes.
How can you regulate that? How can you regulate what people are wearing? I mean, women wear men's clothes all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, Whitney Houston used to wear men's tuxedos. How do you regulate
Look,
something
for
like that?
Pride and these events, the biggest moneymaker is alcohol. Al, that is like by far the biggest, okay? And if they're gonna stop us from selling alcohol at our prides, then close down Twin Peaks, close down Hooters, okay? Because all those places are sexualizing the women, and there's kids there with their families.
Yeah. Again, you get into the legal challenges. You've made that point repeatedly. It's a very, very good one. That is a legal challenge under separate but equal standards in the Constitution. Courts will decide that. But my broader question is, can the LGBTQ community get to the point of going, okay, we surrender this point. No drag and alcohol except for adults. Could we get to that point and just end this conversation?
I hope not.
I hope not. I hope not also.
I really do hope that we don't actually turn over or roll over and play dead on this issue. I think it's really important that we actually allow the kids to come and participate in every function of Gay Pride, as well as be able to support and provide those local businesses with an opportunity to grow and build their
And
business.
make money.
Yeah, like they are supporting those parades.
To give you the opportunity, Palm Beach says we have no alcohol. The drag queens are going to be present. Tampa says we contain our alcohol into a club location where you can the only way you can get access to this location is being an adult. So they are keeping drag queens in front of the entire community, including children, by either strategy. Either strategy is a successful defeat of Ron DeSantis.
But I say that
Please.
Along the drive, there are bars that we can't necessarily, we would just ask them to like close their doors during the parade, or they can't be open during the hours of the parade.
Not sell liquor.
The drag queens wouldn't be there under their umbrella, under their
At the bar.
At the bar. They would just be walking past, just like they would any other night on the drive, because they're not performing at the pub. They're marching in the street.
They're a part of our community, though.
Oh yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right,
It's
so like-
splitting hairs, which I used to have.
Again, I want to try to refine, because I think your observations on this subject are really valid. If Tampa Pride on 7th Avenue in Ybor contains alcohol in the Cuban American Club, Tampa Pride takes themselves off any potential hook with DPR. Then, if a bar on the bar, in terms of the internal presence of the bar, allows children access where drag queens are performing, the bar is taking action. But the two events are not combined anymore. So the bar has no issue because there's no alcohol with the Pride Festival parade. And the bar is not going to allow children into the bar if drag queens are performing or hosting on the stage. So they have effectively defeated the governor and what he wants to do. Is that a standard that the LGBTQ community in stopgap will say, okay, we're going to bring an end to the Our House situation, we're going to bring an end to the lips situation, and we're going to bring an end to our pride situation.
No.
Can we accept that?
No, I can't. I can't accept that because drag queens are not. It's not about sex when it comes to drag queens. Drag queens
They're
are entertainers. It's an
That's what
art.
they
Okay,
are.
it's not a strip club that you can't take an under 18-year-old kid to. It's a performance. So no,
Do you all agree with that?
Of course.
Listen,
Yes.
I understand. I understand that Palm Beach Pride has to do what they have to do for this Pride, and I totally get it. And I don't think anything less of them for doing so. Okay, but this is a good way to just get through this Pride. Okay, but for next year, do not roll over like that.
Okay, all right.
I have a better solution.
Okay.
Just ban the children.
Ban the children.
Yeah,
well,
they're
let's,
allowed to
No,
Well,
Peter, it's a family event.
Yeah, and they're not getting. They're already being shut down as
Oh
far
my
as like their own
God!
respective
Guess who at the table does not like
understanding
kids?
of education. So, yeah, right.
Oh, well, yeah, right here.
wait.
Or reroute the parade in front of Ron DeSantis' house.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks, Peter. One last point that I want to make. And remember, I'm being devil's advocate in propelling the conversation. If we're not willing to accept, there can be only two outcomes. There's only two outcomes to this conversation, and I want to point them out. One of which is, now we understand the chill effect that Ron DeSantis is so successful at. Because the only way to do what all of you said is to fight. That's the only solution. Because he has the power in his seat, he has the supermajority in the House and the Senate, and he has unlimited resources representing the state of Florida. So he can take on poor little Our House, or he can take on Lips, or he can take on poor little Tampa Pride, and he will win unless you fight. And it's a legal action that is gigantically expensive. And the threat creates chill. So we either surrender and find an alternative, or we fight, and it's dramatically expensive. The only other alternative is to get the F out and vote and change the people who are representing us.
And let's
Those are
face
the
it, gays
only
good at
two
fighting.
alternatives.
We're good at fighting.
Okay, well then we have to decide because we're at it. And my questions to you are going, I hear you loud and clear. No, we're not accepting this. Well, that means we're going to pony up in the finance expenses of the lawsuits, or we're going to get out and vote. Those are our only two alternatives.
Which they should have done already. Vote.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out television network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.